Hello everyone. Tonight we begin with a fire. Not the kind you kindle to roast meat or warm your hands against a biting winter chill, but a sacred flame, the fire of Vesta, Rome's goddess of the hearth. Picture yourself kneeling before a blazing hearth, the orange glow flickering across your face, sweat beading on your brow, every breath thick with the scent of smoke. You cannot look away from the fire. You cannot let it die. Because if it does, not only your honor, but the very fate of Rome itself will crumble to ash. One moment of distraction, one careless blink, and you could become a cursed outcast, exiled, or worse, buried alive. Think you could handle it? Just 1 hour before that fire? Where are you watching from? What time is it where you are? Drop a comment. I'd love to know who's curling up under their blanket with me each night. Close your eyes, but not fully, just enough to let your lids droop, the way you used to see the world as a child, when everything felt bigger, scarier. You're no longer on your couch or in your bed. You're in Rome, around 300 BCE, inside a small, round temple nestled in the heart of the Forum Romanum, where the city's pulse throbs. The Temple of Vesta isn't like the grand temples with their marble columns or towering statues. It's simple, almost humble, with a low dome and gray stone walls streaked with soot. But inside, Vesta's fire burns without cease, and you, yes you, are one of the 6 virgins chosen as a Vestal, a keeper of the flame. Sounds glorious, doesn't it? Revered by the entire city. Dining on feasts most citizens can only dream of, draped in pristine white silk. But right now, your knees ache from kneeling on the cold stone floor, and the smell of smoke clings to your hair, your skin, a constant reminder that you no longer belong to yourself. You belong to the fire, and the fire does not forgive. Feel the air around you. It's heavy, thick with the scent of burning wood, pine resin, and something sharper, perhaps the tang of fear. Outside the temple, the city hums with life. You hear the shouts of market vendors, the clatter of horse hooves on cobblestone, the laughter of children darting past. But in here, every sound is muffled by the crackling of the fire, as if it's whispering to you. And maybe it is. They say Vesta's flame can foretell the future. A strong, soaring fire signals peace and prosperity. A weak, flickering one warns of war or plague. And if it goes out? Oh, you don't want to think about that. But you have to, because that's your duty, to keep the fire alive, no matter the cost. You're not alone in this temple, though sometimes you wish you were. There are 5 other Vestals, each carrying her own story, her own secrets. Meet Cornelia, the one closest to you, carefully stacking fresh logs into the hearth. She's a few years older, her black hair tied tightly back, but her eyes, they never quite meet yours. Cornelia is the best at tending the fire, but whispers say she's been seen slipping out of the temple at night, murmuring to a man through the wall. No one has dared accuse her, yet. Accusing a Vestal is a grave crime, and if you're wrong, you'll face punishment yourself. But if you're right, and Cornelia has broken her vow of chastity, she'll be buried alive in a tiny tomb with a scrap of bread and a jug of water, left to waste away. A shiver crawls down your spine. What would you do? Stay silent and keep peace with Cornelia, or report her, if only to protect yourself? The choice hangs in the air, heavy as the smoke. Look at your hands. They tremble slightly, not from cold, but because you know today is a ritual day. Every month, the Vestals perform a ceremony called mola salsa, a sacred powder made from roasted wheat and salt, sprinkled on sacrificial animals. But this powder isn't just powder. It's a symbol of life, of the bond between mortals and gods. If you get it wrong, Burn the wheat too much, let the salt get damp. The ritual fails, and the city will blame you. You remember your first attempt at mola salsa, your clumsy hands spilling salt across the floor. Cornelia covered for you, but her glance, it said you owed her. Now, as you watch her stir the powder in a stone bowl, you wonder if she's waiting for you to repay her by staying quiet about her nighttime disappearances. The air in the temple grows hotter. Sweat trickles down your back, soaking into your silk robe. That robe, which you once thought a badge of honor, now just itches. You want to tear it off, to run outside and breathe clean air, but you can't. Your vow binds you to this fire, this temple, for 30 years. 30 years without love, without family, without freedom. You've only just begun, but time already feels endless, like a rope tightening around your throat. Outside, a bell rings from another temple, maybe Jupiter's, reminding you the whole city depends on you. You want to scream, to tell them you're just a girl, not a goddess, but you can't. Because you're a Vestal, and Vestals don't get to be weak. Imagine standing, your legs numb from kneeling so long. You step toward the hearth, pick up a log, and gently place it in the fire. The flames flare, licking the wood, and for a moment you feel it's alive, as if it's watching you. They say Vesta sometimes lingers in the fire, observing her virgins. You wonder if she sees the doubt in your heart, the fear that you're not good enough, not strong enough for this. You glance at Cornelia, quietly praying by the hearth. You want to ask her, how does she endure? How does she live with her secrets if the rumors are true? But you don't dare. In this temple, every word can become a weapon. As you turn back to the fire, you realize something. You're not just keeping the flame for Rome. You're keeping it for yourself. Every day here you must choose to continue or give up, though giving up means death. The fire isn't just Vesta's symbol. It's your survival. And right now, kneeling before it, you know 1 hour is enough to make you question everything. How much longer can you last? The fire's heat presses against your face, a relentless weight that makes your eyes sting. You blink, but you don't look away. You can't. The flames dance, casting shadows that twist along the temple's curved walls. And for a moment, you swear you see a face in the fire, a woman's face, serene yet unyielding, her eyes like embers. Is it Vesta herself, watching you falter? Or just your exhausted mind playing tricks? You shake your head, trying to focus, but the smoke curls into your lungs, sharp and bitter, like the deadlines you once laughed about in another life, those late-night scrambles to finish a project before the boss's wrath. Except here, there's no coffee to keep you awake, no second chances. Only the fire, the temple, and the weight of an entire city's faith on your shoulders. You shift on your knees, the stone floor biting into your skin through the thin silk of your robe. The other Vestals move quietly around you, their white robes glowing faintly in the firelight, like ghosts in a dream. You're supposed to be one of them, a sister bound by duty, but you feel like an outsider, a stranger who stumbled into a world she doesn't understand. The air hums with tension, not just from the fire, but from the unspoken rules that govern this place. Every gesture, every glance carries meaning. A misplaced word could spark suspicion, and suspicion here is as dangerous as a spark in dry grass. You notice a new figure across the hearth, someone you haven't seen before. Her name is Flavia, or so you've heard, a Vestal who rarely speaks and keeps to the shadows. She's older, her face lined with years of service, her hands steady as she sprinkles herbs into the fire. The flames flare briefly, releasing a sweet, resinous scent that cuts through the smoke. Flavia's presence unsettles you, not because she's unkind, but because of the stories whispered about her. They say she once saw a vision in the fire, a vision of Rome burning, its temples reduced to rubble. She told no one, not even the high priest, and when a fire did sweep through the city years later, some blamed her silence. She wasn't punished. Visions are sacred after all. But the weight of that choice clings to her like the soot on her robes. You watch her now, her lips moving in a silent prayer, and you wonder, what would you do if you saw something in the flames? Would you speak, risking ridicule, or worse, or stay silent, carrying the guilt alone? The fire crackles, a sharp pop that makes you flinch. You reach for another log, your fingers brushing the rough bark, and place it carefully into the hearth. The flames surge hungry, and you feel a strange pull, as if the fire is drawing you in, testing you. You've heard of the Palladium, a small wooden statue of Pallas Athena kept hidden in the temple's inner sanctum. It's said to be a gift from Troy, brought to Rome by Aeneas himself, and it's the city's ultimate talisman. If the fire dies, the Palladium could be lost, and with it, Rome's divine protection. You've never seen it, no Vestal speaks of it openly, but its presence looms over you, a reminder that your duty goes beyond the flames. You're not just guarding a fire, you're guarding a myth, a story that holds the city together. And myths, you're learning, are heavier than stone. Your thoughts are interrupted by a low hum, a chant rising from the other Vestals. It's time for the daily offering, a ritual so routine it should feel mundane, yet it never does. You join them, your voice unsteady at first, reciting words older than the temple itself. The chant is meant to honor Vesta, to strengthen the fire, but to you it feels like a plea for strength, for clarity, for survival. As you sing, you notice Flavia's voice is missing. She stands apart, her hands clasped tightly, her eyes fixed on the fire. You wonder if she's praying or if she's seeing something in the flames again, something she'll never share. The thought makes your stomach twist. You want to trust her, to believe she's wise, not dangerous, but trust is a luxury you can't afford here. The offering ends, and you're tasked with fetching water from the sacred spring outside the temple. It's a simple job, but nothing in this place is truly simple. You lift the heavy bronze jug, its surface cool against your palms, and step into the open air. The forum is alive with noise, merchants haggling, priests chanting, the clink of coins changing hands. For a moment, you're tempted to linger, to let the jug slip from your hands and run, to lose yourself in the crowd and never return. But the thought passes as quickly as it comes. Where would you go? A Vestal who flees is no better than a traitor, hunted down and punished with a cruelty that makes your skin crawl. You've heard of it happening once, long ago. A girl named Opimia who broke her vows and was buried alive. Her name is never spoken, but her fate hangs over you like a shadow. The spring is tucked behind the temple, its water clear and cold, bubbling up from a stone basin carved with images of nymphs. As you dip the jug, you catch your reflection in the water. Your face, pale and drawn, your eyes wide with something you don't want to name. Fear? Doubt? You don't have time to decide. A figure approaches, a man in a coarse tunic, his face weathered by years of labor. He's no one important, just a servant delivering supplies, but he bows deeply, as all do before a Vestal. "May Vesta bless you," he murmurs, but his eyes linger too long, curious, almost pitying. You stiffen, clutching the jug tighter. You're not used to being seen this way, as something sacred yet untouchable, like a statue in a shrine. You nod and turn away, but his gaze follows you, a reminder that the city watches your every move. back in the temple. You pour the water into a shallow basin near the hearth, its surface shimmering in the firelight. The water is for purification, for rituals you barely understand. But its presence soothes you, a brief respite from the fire's heat. You kneel again, your body aching, and notice Flavia watching you from across the room. Her expression is unreadable, but her eyes are sharp, as if she's measuring you, weighing your worth. You want to ask her about the vision, about the fire she saw, but the words stick in your throat. Instead, you focus on the fire, its endless hunger. You add another log, watching the flames consume it, and you feel a pang of envy. The fire takes what it wants, without hesitation. You, on the other hand, are trapped in a web of choices. Obey or rebel, speak or stay silent, endure or break. The day wears on, each hour blending into the next, marked only by the fire's rhythm. You're exhausted, your body screaming for rest, but rest is a privilege you don't have. You think of your old life, if you can call it that, scrolling through feeds, chasing likes, worrying about bills. It seems so trivial now, yet you miss it, the simplicity of a world where failure didn't mean death. Here, every mistake is a step toward ruin. You glance at Flavia again, wondering if she feels the same, if her silence is her way of surviving. You want to believe you're strong enough for this, that you can outlast the fire's demands, but doubt gnaws at you, as relentless as the flames. The palladium, the fire, Flavia's secrets, they all press down on you, a weight you're not sure you can bear. And yet, you have no choice but to keep going, to feed the fire, to pray it doesn't consume you first. The fire's glow has seeped into your dreams, if you can call those fleeting moments of sleep dreams at all. You're not sure when you last closed your eyes for more than a blink, but the heat is a constant, wrapping around you like a second skin. Your hands, once soft, are now rough from handling wood and ash, the skin cracked and stinging as you need a lump of dough for tomorrow's offering. The temple is quiet now, save for the fire's low murmur and the occasional shuffle of a vestal's sandals against stone. Night has fallen over Rome, but in here, time feels like a lie, day and night blur into one endless vigil. You knead harder, the dough resisting under your palms, and you can't help but think of the life you've left behind, where exhaustion meant crashing on a couch with a phone in hand, not guarding a flame that could doom a city if it faltered. The comparison is fleeting, a ghost of a thought, because a fire doesn't care about your nostalgia. It burns, and you burn with it. You're alone at the hearth now, the other Vestals retired to their narrow cells for a few hours of rest. It's your turn to keep watch, a task that feels like a punishment disguised as an honor. The fire is your only companion, its light painting the temple walls with shifting shapes. Here a horse, there a face, gone before you can be sure. You try to focus on the dough, shaping it into flat rounds for the altar, but your eyes keep drifting to the flames. They're steady tonight, a good omen, but you've learned not to trust them. A gust of wind, a damp log, and everything could change. You glance at the temple's entrance, half expecting a breeze to slip through the heavy curtain, but the air is still, heavy with the scent of charred wood and wax from the candles that line the walls. The silence is oppressive, broken only by the fire's crackle, and you feel it pressing against your chest, urging you to move, to do something, anything, to prove you're still alive. A shadow moves in the corner of your vision, and your heart lurches. You turn, expecting Cornelia or Flavia, but it's someone else, Livia, the youngest Vestal, barely 14, her face pale and sharp in the firelight. She's clutching a small clay figurine, its features worn smooth from years of handling, and her eyes are wide, not with fear, but with something deeper, something you can't name. Livia is an enigma, chosen for her piety, but rumored to be too fragile for this life. They say her mother died giving birth to her, and her father, a senator, offered her to Vesta as penance, though no one knows for what sin. She rarely speaks, but when she does, her words carry a weight that makes you uneasy, as if she sees things the rest of you don't. "You're awake," she says, her voice soft but clear, like a bell in the fog. You nod, unsure what to say, and go back to your dough, hoping she'll leave. But she doesn't. She steps closer, the figurine clutched to her chest, and kneels beside you, her robe pooling on the floor like spilled milk. "Do you ever hear it?" she asks, her eyes fixed on the fire. You pause, your hands sticky with dough, and follow her gaze. The flames are steady, but there's a rhythm to them, a pulse you hadn't noticed before, like a heartbeat. "Hear what?" you ask, though part of you doesn't want to know. Livia tilts her head, as if listening to something far away. The fire. It speaks sometimes. Not in words, but feelings. You swallow, your throat dry, and force a laugh, hoping to break the tension. You've been awake too long, Livia. But she doesn't smile. She sets the figurine on the floor, its tiny face staring up at you. And you realize it's not just a toy. It's a lar, a household spirit, meant to protect a home. Why does she carry it here, in a temple that needs no protection but Vesta's? The question hangs unspoken, and you feel a chill, as if the fire's warmth has abandoned you. You turn back to the dough, shaping it with more force than necessary. But Livia's words linger, burrowing into your mind. The fire does feel alive tonight, not just a force, but a presence, watching, waiting. You've heard stories of Vestals who went mad, who claimed the flame spoke to them, who saw visions of Rome's fall or their own deaths. You always thought they were exaggerations, tales to scare new initiates. But now, with Livia's eyes boring into you and the fire's pulse echoing in your ears, you're not so sure. You want to ask her what she hears, what the fire tells her, but the words stick in your throat. Instead, you focus on the dough, pressing it flat, your hands trembling. The silence stretches, taut as a bowstring, until Livia speaks again. "It's angry tonight," she says, her voice barely a whisper. Not at you, at someone else. Your stomach twists. You want to tell her to stop, to go back to her cell, but you can't. Because deep down, you believe her. The fire flares suddenly, a log collapsing into embers, and you both jump. You grab a fresh log, your movements automatic, and feed it to the flames, watching them settle. Livia doesn't move, her hands folded in her lap, the lar figurine at her side. You notice her fingers are trembling, and you wonder if she's afraid or if she's holding something back, something she's seen or heard that she can't share. You've heard of the Vestal oath, not just of chastity, but of silence, of keeping the temple's secrets even at the cost of your life. What does Livia know that makes her clutch that figurine like a lifeline? You want to ask, but the memory of Cornelia's secrets and Flavia's visions stops you. Every Vestal carries a burden, and yours is heavy enough without adding hers. You finish the dough, stacking the rounds on a stone tray, and wipe your hands on a cloth, the flour leaving white streaks on your robe. Livia is still there, her eyes on the fire, and you feel a pang of pity for her. She's so young, too young for this life, but then, so are you. You were chosen at 10, plucked from your family, with promises of honor. But no one told you about the loneliness, the fear, the way the fire would consume your every thought. You wonder if Livia feels the same, if her lar is her only anchor in a world that demands too much. You open your mouth to say something, anything, but a sound stops you, a low, guttural moan from outside the temple. It's faint, almost lost in the fire's crackle, but it's there, like an animal in pain or something worse. Livia's head snaps up, her eyes wide, and you realize she heard it too. You stand, your legs stiff, and move toward the entrance, pulling back the curtain just enough to peer into the night. The forum is dark, the stalls shuttered, the only light coming from torches flickering in the distance. The moan comes again, closer now, and your heart pounds. It could be a drunk, a stray dog, or something else. Something the priests warn about. Spirits of the unburied dead that haunt sacred places. You've never believed in ghosts, not really, but here, in the shadow of Vesta's temple, anything feels possible. You glance back at Livia, hoping she'll stay by the fire, but she's already beside you, her figurine clutched in one hand. "Don't go out there," she whispers, but her voice isn't pleading, it's a warning. You hesitate, torn between duty and fear. As a Vestal, you're meant to protect the temple. But what if whatever's out there isn't human? What if it's a sign, a test from Vesta herself? The moan fades, replaced by the rustle of leaves in the wind, and you let the curtain fall, your hands shaking. Livia is still watching you, her face unreadable, and you feel a surge of anger. At her, at the fire, at this life that traps you. "Go back to the fire," you say, sharper than you mean, and she flinches but obeys, kneeling by the hearth with her figurine. You return to your post, the dough forgotten, and stare into the flames, trying to ignore the unease settling in your bones. The fire is steady again, but Livia's words echo. Angry, not at you, at someone else. You think of Cornelia's secrets, Flavia's silence, the weight of the palladium hidden somewhere in this temple. You wonder who the fire is angry at, and whether you'll be caught in its wrath. The night drags on, the fire's heat a constant reminder of your duty. You add another log, watching the flames flare, and feel the weight of Livia's gaze from across the hearth. She's silent now, but her presence is a question you can't answer. You want to believe you're strong enough for this, that you can endure the fire's demands. But the moan lingers in your mind, a reminder that danger isn't just in the flames. It's in the shadows, in the secrets, in the choices you'll have to make. You kneel, your hands still dusted with flour, and pray, not to Vesta, but to whatever strength you have left, that you can survive another hour. The fire's glow is relentless, painting your vision with smears of orange and gold even when you close your eyes. Your hands tremble as you arrange a bundle of dried herbs on a stone slab, their brittle leaves crumbling under your fingers, releasing a sharp, earthy scent that cuts through the ever-present smoke. The temple is alive with quiet movement this morning, the Vestals gliding through their tasks like figures in a frieze, their white robes catching the light. You're supposed to be preparing for the noon ritual, a simple offering of herbs and wine to strengthen Vesta's flame, but your mind is elsewhere, snagged on the memory of last night's moan outside the temple. It hasn't returned, but its echo lingers, a cold weight in your chest that no amount of firelight can warm. You glance at the hearth, where the flames burn steady, and wonder if they're mocking you. They're calm, a lie hiding something darker. You're not alone in the temple's main chamber, but you might as well be. The other Vestals move with purpose, their faces closed off, their voices low. You've learned to read the silences here, the way they shift from reverence to suspicion. Cornelia is at the far end, grinding salt with a pestle, her movements sharp and precise, as if she's punishing the mortar. Flavia is absent, likely in her cell or tending to some secret task. And Livia is nowhere to be seen. You haven't spoken to her since last night, when her words about the fire's anger left you shaken. Her clay figurine, a silent witness to your unease. You want to find her, to ask what she meant, but the thought of her wide, knowing eyes stops you. Instead, you focus on the herbs, tying them into small bundles, your fingers fumbling with the twine. It's mindless work, but even this feels like a test, as if Vesta herself is watching, waiting for you to fail. A new presence enters the chamber, and you look up to see Emilia, a Vestal you've barely spoken to. She's older, her hair streaked with gray, her face etched with lines that speak of years spent in this temple. Emilia is the closest thing the Vestals have to a leader, though her authority is unspoken, earned through time rather than title. She carries a bronze tray, its surface gleaming, and sets it near the hearth with a care that borders on reverence. You've heard stories about her, not whispers like with Cornelia, but tales told openly, with a mix of awe and fear. They say Emilia once saved the temple from a fire that spread from a nearby insula, dousing the flames with sacred water before they could reach the Palladium. The city called it a miracle, but Emilia never spoke of it, and the other Vestals avoid her eyes when the story is mentioned. You watch her now, her movements slow but deliberate, and wonder what it cost her to carry that moment alone. Emilia notices you staring and offers a small nod, her lips curving in what might be a smile. "The herbs," she says, her voice low but firm. "They need to be tighter." Vesta doesn't accept carelessness. You flush, your hands moving faster, tightening the twine until it bites into your fingers. You want to ask her about the fire, about the Palladium, about how she endures this life. But her presence is a wall, solid and unyielding. Instead, you nod and keep working, the silence between you heavy with unspoken questions. Emilia lingers, adjusting the tray's position, and you feel her eyes on you, assessing. You wonder if she sees your doubt, your fear, the way you flinch at every crackle of the fire. You want to prove yourself to her, to show you're worthy of this role. But the weight of her gaze makes you feel small, like a child caught in a lie. The fire flares suddenly, a log shifting with a loud pop, and you drop the twine, your heart racing. Emilia doesn't react, her hand steady as she pours a thin stream of wine into a shallow bowl. The liquid catches the firelight, shimmering like blood, and you're struck by the thought that everything here is a sacrifice. Wine, herbs, your own life. You've heard of the Vestal vow not just as a promise, but as a surrender, a giving up of self to become something more, or perhaps less. You think of your old life, the one you can barely remember, where freedom meant choosing what to eat or who to talk to. Here, choice is an illusion, every action dictated by ritual, every moment a step toward or away from ruin. You wonder if Emilia ever misses her old self, or if she's forgotten who she was before the fire claimed her. The noon ritual is approaching, and the temple hums with preparation. You carry your herb bundles to the hearth, placing them on the bronze tray beside Emilia's wine. The other Vestals gather, their voices rising in a chant that vibrates in your chest, a song of devotion that feels more like a chain than a prayer. You join in, your voice unsteady, the words unfamiliar despite weeks of practice. The chant speaks of Vesta's eternal flame, of Rome's enduring strength, but to you, it's a reminder of your fragility, your mortality. You glance at Emilia, hoping for a sign of reassurance, but her face is a mask, her eyes fixed on the fire. You wonder what she sees in the flames, if she's ever seen what Livia claims to hear, or if her visions are buried too deep to share. The ritual begins, and you follow Emilia's lead, sprinkling herbs into the fire, their scent rising in a cloud of sweet smoke. The flames surge greedy, and you feel a pull, as if they're drawing you in, testing your resolve. You think of the palladium again, hidden somewhere in this temple. Its wooden form said to be older than Rome itself. You've never seen it, but its presence is a constant pressure, a reminder that your duty is not just to the fire, but to the city's soul. If the palladium were lost, Rome would fall, not in a day, but slowly, like a body bleeding out. You wonder if Emilia has seen it, if she's touched it, if its weight is what carved those lines into her face. You want to ask, but the chant grows louder, drowning your thoughts, and you focus on the ritual, pouring wine into the fire, watching it hiss and steam. The ritual ends, and the Vestals disperse, their tasks pulling them in different directions. You're left to clean the tray, scrubbing ash from its surface, your hands blackening with soot. Emilia remains, tending the fire, and you feel a sudden urge to speak, to break the silence that binds you. How do you do it, you ask, the words slipping out before you can stop them? How do you keep going year after year? Emilia pauses, her hand hovering over a log, and for a moment you think she won't answer. Then she looks at you, her eyes sharp but not unkind. You don't, she says. You stop being you. The fire takes what it needs, and you let it. Her words are a blade, cutting through your fragile hope, and you look away, focusing on the tray, scrubbing harder than necessary. The day wears on, the temple a cycle of tasks, cleaning, praying, tending the fire. You move through them mechanically, Emilia's words echoing in your mind. You think of Livia's figurine, Flavia's visions, Cornelia's secrets. Each Vestal a piece of a puzzle you can't solve. You wonder if you'll become like Emilia, hollowed out by duty, or if you'll break first, crushed by the weight of choices you're not ready to make. The fire burns on indifferent, and you feel its hunger, not just for wood, but for you, for your will, your fear. You add another log, watching the flames flare, and feel a pang of dread. The moan from last night, Livia's warning, Emilia's truth. They're all threads in a tapestry you're only beginning to see, and you're not sure you want to know the pattern. You kneel by the hearth, your body aching, and stare into the flames, searching for answers. They give none, only heat and light, and you feel the weight of Emilia's gaze from across the room. She's watching you, not with pity, but with expectation, as if she knows you'll have to choose soon, to surrender to the fire or fight it, to become part of the temple or be consumed by it. You want to believe you're strong enough, that you can endure, but the fire's pulse is in your veins now, and you're not sure where it ends and you begin. The day stretches ahead endless, and you pray, not to Vesta, but to yourself, that you can survive another hour. Are you still awake? I truly hope so, because there's something special about drifting through this story together, quietly, slowly. If you're still listening, whisper to me, where are you right now, and how far have we come together? Don't fall asleep just yet. The most mysterious part is still waiting for us ahead. The fire's heat clings to you like a fever, its glow seeping into your skin until you can't tell where you end and it begins. You're standing by the hearth, a clay bowl of crushed myrtle leaves in your hands, the sharp, green scent mingling with the ever-present smoke. Your task is simple. Scatter the leaves into the flames at precise intervals, a ritual to purify the temple's air, to keep Vesta's presence strong. But nothing here is ever simple. Each leaf feels like a test, each toss a judgment, and your hands shake as you measure the rhythm, counting heartbeats to time the offerings. The temple is hushed, the other Vestals scattered through their duties, and the silence amplifies the fire's voice, its crackle, its hiss, its endless demand for attention. You think of a life you once knew, where a missed deadline meant a stern email, not the wrath of a goddess or the scorn of a city. Here, every mistake is a crack in the foundation of Rome itself, and you're starting to feel like the weakest stone. You're not alone for long. A soft rustle of fabric announces the arrival of Tullia, a vestal you've barely noticed until now. She's neither young like Livia nor weathered like Emilia, but her presence is sharp, like a blade hidden in silk. Tullia's hair is a deep auburn, braided tightly against her scalp, and her eyes are quick, darting from the fire to you with a scrutiny that makes your skin prickle. You've heard whispers about her, not of scandal, like Cornelia, but of ambition. They say Tullia dreams of becoming the Virgo Vestalis Maxima, the chief vestal, a role that would give her power over the temple and influence in the city. But ambition in a vestal is a dangerous thing, a flame that can burn too bright. You watch her now, arranging a set of bronze tools near the hearth, her movements precise but deliberate, as if she's performing for an unseen audience. You wonder who she's trying to impress, Vesta, the other Vestals, or herself. Tullia glances at you, her lips curving in a smile that doesn't reach her eyes. "You're slow with the leaves," she says, her voice light but edged, like a knife wrapped in velvet. Vesta prefers precision. You bristle, your fingers tightening around the bowl, but you say nothing, scattering another pinch of leaves into the fire. The flames flare, releasing a burst of scent, and you feel a surge of defiance. You want to tell her you're trying, that you're new, that the fire terrifies you, but Tullia's gaze is unrelenting, and you know she'd see your words as weakness. Instead, you focus on the rhythm, counting silently, letting the fire's heat ground you. But Tullia doesn't leave. She lingers, adjusting the tools, a small shovel, a poker, a pair of tongs, with a care that feels performative, and you realize she's watching you, waiting for you to falter. The fire shifts, a log collapsing into embers, and you reach for a fresh one, your movements automatic. As you place it in the hearth, you notice something etched into the wood, a faint carving, no bigger than your thumb, of a wolf's head. It's crude, likely the work of a woodcutter, but it stops you cold. The wolf is Rome's symbol, tied to the myth of Romulus and Remus, suckled by the she-wolf in the wilderness. Here, in Vesta's temple, it feels like more than a coincidence, a reminder that the city's survival depends on you, on this fire, on the fragile balance you're struggling to maintain. You glance at Tullia, wondering if she saw it, but she's focused on her tools, her face unreadable. You toss the log into the flames, watching the wolf's head vanish in a burst of sparks, and feel a pang of unease. Symbols matter here more than you ever realized, and you're starting to see them everywhere. Tullia speaks again, her voice cutting through your thoughts. You've heard of the Vestal Tarpeia, haven't you? You freeze, the name familiar but distant, a story from your training. Tarpeia was a Vestal long ago, or perhaps a traitor, depending on who tells the tale. The legend says she betrayed Rome to the Sabines, opening the city's gates for gold, only to be crushed under their shields as payment. Some say she was never a Vestal, just a myth, but Tullia's tone suggests otherwise. She thought she could have it all. Tullia continues, her eyes on the fire now, not you. Power, wealth, freedom. But Vesta doesn't share. You swallow, your throat dry, and scatter another pinch of leaves, the motion mechanical. You want to ask why she's telling you this, what she's implying, but the words stick, caught in the web of her gaze. The temple feels smaller now, the walls closing in, the fire's heat a pressure you can't escape. You think of the Palladium, hidden somewhere in this sacred space. Its wooden form a secret only the senior Vestals know. You've never seen it, but its presence is a constant weight, like the wolf carving, like Tarpea's story. You wonder if Talia has seen it, if her ambition drives her to seek it out, to touch the heart of Rome's power. The thought makes you uneasy, not because you distrust her, though you do, but because it forces you to confront your own place here. Are you a guardian like Emilia, or a dreamer like Talia? Or are you just a girl, out of her depth, clinging to a duty she doesn't understand? The ritual continues, the myrtle leaves dwindling in your bowl. Talia steps closer, her robe brushing against yours, and takes the bowl from your hands without asking. "Let me," she says, her tone almost kind. But there's a challenge in her eyes, as if she's proving she's better, faster, more worthy. You step back, your hands empty, and watch her scatter the leaves with a precision you can't match, the flames responding with a steady glow. You feel a stab of resentment, but beneath it, something else, relief. For a moment, the fire is her burden, not yours. But the relief is fleeting, replaced by a gnawing fear that you're failing, that Tully's competence only highlights your inadequacy. The fire flares again, and you notice a faint smell, not myrtle, but something acrid, like burning cloth. You scan the hearth, your heart racing, but see nothing amiss. Talia doesn't react, her focus on the leaves, but you can't shake the feeling that something's wrong. You step closer, peering into the flames, and catch a glimpse of something dark, a scrap of fabric caught in the embers. It's small, barely noticeable, but it doesn't belong there. You reach for the tongs, your hands shaking, and pull it out. The chard remains crumbling in your grip. It's a piece of linen, embroidered with a tiny symbol, a wolf's head, like the one on the log. Your stomach twists. This isn't an accident. Someone placed it here, a deliberate act. But why? To curse the fire? To test you? You glance at Talia, but she's still scattering leaves, her face serene, and you realize she hasn't seen it. You drop the fabric into a clay dish, your mind racing. The wolf is sacred, but defiling the fire is blasphemy, a crime that could see a Vestal punished, even killed. You think of Tarpea, crushed for her betrayal, and wonder if this is a warning, a message meant for you or someone else. You want to tell Talia, to show her the evidence, but the memory of Cornelia's secrets and Livia's warning stops you. Trust is a trap here, and you're not sure who's setting it. You cover the dish with a cloth, hiding the charred linen, and return to the hearth, your hands unsteady. Talia finishes the leaves and steps back, her smile returning, but it feels like a mask now, hiding something you can't name. The day drags on, the temple a cycle of rituals and silences. You move through your tasks, cleaning the hearth, fetching water, chanting prayers. But the wolf's head haunts you, a symbol you can't unravel. You think of Talia's ambition, her story of Tarpea, the way she took the bowl from your hands. Is she testing you, pushing you to prove your worth, or is she playing a deeper game? One where you're just a pawn. You want to confront her, to demand answers, but the fire's heat is a reminder of your place, your duty, your fragility. You kneel by the hearth, adding another log, and feel the flame's hunger, not just for wood, but for truth, for sacrifice. The charred linen is still hidden, a secret you're not ready to share, and you wonder how long you can carry it before it burns you too. You pray not to Vesta, but to the strength you're not sure you have, that you can endure another hour, another choice, another shadow in the flames. The air is sharp with the scent of damp earth and crushed laurel, a stark contrast to the temple's choking smoke. You're standing in a grove just beyond Rome's walls, the sacred grove of Vesta, where the Vestals venture once a year to gather willow branches for a ritual, So ancient even Emilia claims its origins are lost to time. Your sandals sink into the soft ground, mud oozing between your toes, and the early morning chill gnaws at your exposed arms. The grove is a tangle of gnarled trees, their branches heavy with mist, and the silence here is different from the temples, less oppressive, but heavier, as if the earth itself is holding its breath. You're not used to being outside the city, away from the fire's relentless heat, and the freedom feels like a trick, a brief taste of a life you'll never reclaim. You think of scrolling through your phone in another world, the mindless escape of it. But here, escape is a fantasy, and the grove's stillness reminds you that even nature bows to Vesta's will. You're not alone, of course. The other Vestals are scattered through the grove, their white robes like ghosts among the trees. Cornelia is nearby, snapping branches with a force that feels personal, her face set in a scowl. Livia trails behind, her clay figurine tucked into her belt, her eyes darting as if expecting something to leap from the shadows. Tullia and Emilia are further off, their voices a low murmur, and Flavia is absent, her duties keeping her at the temple. You're tasked with gathering enough willow to fill a woven basket, a simple job that feels anything but. The branches are tough, resisting your knife, and each cut sends a jolt through your aching hands. You're no stranger to labor now, but this feels different, like the grove is testing you, its roots whispering that you don't belong. A new figure catches your eye, not a Vestal, but a priest, one of the pontifices who oversee the city's sacred rites. His name is Lucius, or so you've heard, a man whose face is all angles, sharp cheekbones, sharper eyes. He's older, his toga pristine despite the mud, and he moves through the grove with a purpose that makes your stomach twist. Lucius is no stranger to the Vestals. He's the one who inspects the temple's fire each month, his judgment a blade that could sever your life with a single word. You've seen him before, standing silent as Emilia reported on the flame's health, but here in the grove, he feels more dangerous, like a hawk circling prey. He pauses near Cornelia, exchanging quiet words, and you notice her posture stiffen, her hands faltering on the willow. You wonder what he's saying, if it's about her rumored nighttime wanderings, but you don't dare approach. Instead, you focus on your knife, slicing through a branch, the sap sticking to your fingers like blood. The grove is steeped in meaning, every tree and stone a piece of Rome's sacred history. You've heard of the Ancile, a bronze shield said to have fallen from the sky, a gift from Mars himself. It's kept in another temple, but its replica is used in rituals here, carried by priests in a procession that ends with the willow branches you're gathering. The Ancile is a symbol of Rome's divine protection, its shape a perfect oval, and you've seen it in carvings, always paired with a wolf or a flame, tying it to the city's myths. You wonder if Lucius carries its weight now, if his presence here is tied to the shield, to the ritual, or to something else. The thought makes your knife slip, nicking your thumb, and you hiss, blood welling up. You wipe it on your robe, leaving a dark smear, and feel a pang of guilt. Blood in a sacred grove is no small thing, and you glance around, hoping no one saw. But Lucius is watching, his eyes narrowing, and you feel exposed, as if he can see every doubt you've ever had. You move deeper into the grove, seeking a moment of solitude, but the trees seem to lean closer, their branches clawing at your robe. You find a willow with low-hanging limbs, perfect for cutting and set to work, the repetitive motion calming your nerves. But the calm doesn't last. A sound breaks the silence, a low, rhythmic chant, not from the Vestals, but from somewhere deeper in the grove. You freeze, your knife hovering, and listen. The chant is guttural, almost animalistic, and it sends a shiver down your spine. You've heard of secret rites performed in sacred groves, rituals older than Rome, but you're a Vestal, not privy to such things. You glance back, expecting to see Lucius or Emilia, but the grove is empty, the other Vestals out of sight. The chant grows louder, and you realize it's not a song, but a summons, a call to something you don't understand. Your heart pounds, urging you to run, but curiosity or foolishness keeps you rooted. You step toward the sound, pushing through a curtain of branches, and find a clearing. In its center is a stone altar, weathered and moss-covered, its surface stained with something dark. No one is there, but the chant lingers, echoing in your ears, and you feel a presence, not human, but ancient, watching from the shadows. You think of the Ancili, of the myths that bind Rome to its gods, and wonder if this altar is part of that story, a relic of a time when blood was spilled freely to appease the divine. You step closer, your knife still in hand, and notice carvings on the altar, wolves, shields, and a single flame, intertwined in a spiral. The sight makes your breath catch. This isn't just a grove. It's a threshold, a place where the mortal and divine collide, and you've stumbled into it unprepared. A twig snaps behind you, and you spin, your knife raised. It's Livia, her face pale, her figurine clutched in both hands. "You shouldn't be here," she whispers, her voice trembling. "This isn't for us." You lower the knife, your heart still racing, and try to speak, but the words won't come. Livia steps closer, her eyes darting to the altar, and you see fear in them, but also recognition, as if she's been here before. "What is this place?" you ask, your voice barely audible. She shakes her head, her lips pressed tight, and you realize she's not just scared, she's protecting something or someone. You think of her words about the fire's anger, of the moan outside the temple, and wonder if this grove holds the answers, or if it's another trap. Before you can press her, Lucius appears, his toga stark against the green. "You're far from your task," he says, his tone calm, but laced with warning. You stammer an apology, dropping the knife, and Livia shrinks back, her figurine hidden behind her. Lucius's eyes flicker to the altar, then back to you, and you feel a chill, as if he knows what you've seen. "The willow is needed by noon," he says, turning away, but his words feel like a command, a reminder of your place. You nod, retrieving your knife, and follow Livia back to the grove's edge, the chant fading but not forgotten. Your basket is half full, your hands sticky with sap and blood, and you feel the grove's weight, its secrets pressing against you. The day continues, the Vestals gathering their branches, Lucius watching from a distance. You work in silence, Livia nearby, but distant, her figurine a silent barrier between you. You think of the altar, the Ancili, the chant, and feel a growing dread, not just for yourself, but for Rome, for the fragile balance you're meant to uphold. You want to believe you can endure, that you can carry the grove's secrets as you carry the fire's heat, but each step feels heavier, each choice a step toward or away from ruin. You cut another branch, the willow yielding at last, and pray, not to Vesta, but to the strength you're losing, that you can survive another hour in this world of shadows and signs. The city's heartbeat thrums through the stone beneath your feet, a pulse of footsteps, shouts, and distant cartwheels that seeps into the temple's walls. You're back in the heart of Vesta's domain, the grove's damp chill, now a fading memory, replaced by the fire's familiar heat. Your hands are still sticky with willow sap, the basket of branches you gathered tucked away in a corner, awaiting the ritual that will bind them to Rome's fate. You're tasked with polishing a set of bronze vessels, their surfaces dulled by years of smoke, and the repetitive motion of your cloth is a small anchor in the chaos of your thoughts. The fire crackles nearby. It's like casting jagged shadows, and you feel its gaze not as a goddess, but as a judge, weighing every choice you've made since you stepped into this life. You think of the modern world you once knew, endless notifications, the hum of a coffee machine, the fleeting thrill of a like post. But here, the stakes are carved in stone, and failure isn't a bad day, but a death sentence. You're not alone in the temple's main chamber, though the space feels emptier than it should. The other Vestals are present, moving through their tasks with a quiet that borders on unease. Cornelia is absent, her usual place by the hearth empty, and you wonder if her rumored wanderings have finally caught up with her. Livia is here, her clay figurine nowhere in sight, her hands busy weaving a garland of herbs with a focus that feels forced. Tullia polishes a different set of vessels across the room, her movements sharp, her eyes darting to the entrance as if expecting trouble. Emilia stands by the fire, adding logs with a steadiness that makes you envious, while Flavia remains unseen, her absence a question no one dares ask. The air is thick with the scent of burning cedar and wax, but beneath it there's something else, a faint, sour tang, like sweat or fear, that you can't place. A new figure enters, breaking the rhythm of your work. It's not a Vestal, but a woman, older, her face weathered like leather left too long in the sun. Her name is Marcia, a freedwoman who serves as the temple's caretaker, handling tasks too menial for the Vestals, cleaning floors, fetching supplies, tending the sacred spring. Marcia is a shadow in the temple's daily life, rarely noticed, but her presence now feels heavy, her eyes lingering on you as she sets a bundle of fresh linens near the altar. You've heard whispers about her, not of scandal, but of knowledge. They say Marcia was once a slave in a priest's household, privy to secrets of the gods before she earned her freedom. Her hands are gnarled, her fingers twisted from years of labor, but they move with a grace that belies her age, and you wonder what she's seen, what she knows, that keeps her tethered to this place. Marcia catches your gaze and offers a nod, her lips twitching in what might be a smile. "Mind the bronze," she says, her voice rough but warm, like gravel underfoot. "It bites if you're careless." You glance at the vessel in your hands, its edge sharp where the metal has worn thin, and nod, returning to your polishing. But her words linger, a warning wrapped in kindness, and you feel a prickle of unease. Marcia moves to the hearth, sweeping ash into a clay urn, and you notice her pause, her eyes narrowing as she studies the fire. The flames are steady, but there's a flicker, a brief falter, that makes your heart lurch. You want to ask if she sees something, if the fire speaks to her, as Livia claimed it did, but Marcia's face is a mask, and you're not sure you want the answer. Your thoughts drift to the Ancile, the sacred shield you learned of in the grove, its myth woven into the willow ritual you're preparing for. The shield is more than a symbol. It's a pact, a promise that Rome will endure as long as its guardians, priests, Vestals, even freed women like Marcia, uphold their duties. You've never seen it, but you imagine its weight, heavy as the palladium, heavy as the fire itself. You wonder if Marcia has seen it, if her years in sacred households gave her glimpses of Rome's hidden truths. The thought makes you polish harder, the bronze gleaming under your cloth, but it also makes you question your place here. Are you a guardian, like Marcia, or just a girl, polishing vessels to avoid the fire's wrath? The temple's rhythm is disrupted by a sound, a sharp, metallic clatter from the entrance. You turn, your cloth slipping, and see a young boy no older than 10, standing in the doorway. He's a temple servant, his tunic stained with dirt, his face pale with panic. "The fire," he stammers, pointing outside. "In the forum, it's spreading." Your stomach drops, and the Vestals freeze, their tasks abandoned. Emilia steps forward, her voice calm but firm. "Where?" The boy stutters, describing a blaze near the market stalls, fueled by dry wood and wind. You think of Emilia's story, her miracle of dousing a fire years ago, and wonder if she's remembering it too. But this is different. The temple's fire must not falter, but a blaze in the city could draw resources, attention, even suspicion. If Vesta's flame weakens now, the blame will fall on you, on all the Vestals. Marcia moves first, grabbing a bucket and heading for the spring, her limp barely slowing her. Emilia follows, barking orders to the boy to fetch the priests. Talia hesitates, her eyes flickering to the hearth, then joins them, leaving you and Livia alone. The fire crackles oblivious to the chaos, and you feel a surge of anger at the boy, at the city, at the gods who demand so much for so little mercy. Livia is still weaving her garland, her hands trembling, and you want to shake her, to demand why she's so calm when Rome might be burning. But her eyes meet yours, and there's a weight in them, a knowing that stops you cold. "It's not our fire," she says, her voice barely audible. "Not yet." You want to argue, to scream that every fire is your burden, but the truth in her words silences you. Your duty is here in this temple, not in the forum's chaos. You return to the bronze, polishing with a fury that makes your arms ache, but your mind is on the city, on the smoke you can't see, but can imagine, thick and black, choking the streets. You think of the ancili, of the willow branches, of the myths that hold Rome together, and wonder if they're enough to save it now. The fire in the hearth is steady, but you feel its hunger, its indifference, and you realize Livia's right. It's not your fire, not yet, but it could be. If the city's blaze reaches the temple, if the priests blame the Vestals for failing to appease Vesta, your life could end as surely as if you'd let the flame die. You think of Marcia, her gnarled hands sweeping ash, and wonder if she's faced this before, if her secrets include surviving a city's wrath. The temple fills with movement again as Emilia returns, her robe damp with spring water, her face grim. "It's contained," she says, but her tone is heavy, as if the cost was more than water and effort. Marcia follows, her bucket empty, her eyes avoiding yours. Talia is last, her composure frayed, and you notice a smudge of soot on her cheek, a mark of the chaos she faced. The boy is gone, sent back to the priests, and the temple settles into an uneasy calm. You finish the bronze, the vessels gleaming, and set them by the altar, your hands shaking. Livia is still at her garland, her fingers steady now, and you feel a stab of envy for her calm, her certainty, even if it's born of something you don't understand. The day presses on, the fire burning as if nothing happened, but the sour tang in the air lingers, a reminder of the city's fragility. You think of Marcia's warning, of the ancili's myth, of the choice you didn't make, to run to the forum or stay by the fire. You stayed, but it doesn't feel like victory, only survival, and you're not sure how many more hours you can endure. You kneel by the hearth, adding a log, and feel the flame's heat, not as comfort, but as a challenge, daring you to keep going. You pray not to Vesta, but to the part of you that's still fighting, that you can face the next crisis, the next secret, the next hour, without breaking. The temple's air is thick with the scent of scorched herbs and wax, a cloying mix that clings to your throat like a second skin. You're kneeling before a low altar, not the main hearth, but a smaller one, tucked in a shadowed corner of the temple's inner sanctum. Your task is to prepare a libation, a mixture of wine and honey to be poured into the flames during tonight's ritual, a plea for Vesta's favor after the city's recent fire. Your hands move slowly, stirring the sticky liquid in a shallow bronze bowl, the spoon scraping against the metal with a faint, grating hum. The fire in the main hearth is out of sight, but its heat pulses through the walls, a constant reminder of your duty. You're alone for now, the other Vestals scattered through the temple, and the solitude is both a relief and a burden, giving you space to think, but no escape from the thoughts that claw at you. You remember late nights in another life, hunched over a screen, the glow of notifications a pale imitation of this fire's demands. Here, there's no logging off, no pause, only the endless rhythm of ritual and fear. The sanctum is smaller than the main chamber, its walls carved with faint reliefs of flames and wolves, their edges worn smooth by centuries of reverent hands. A single oil lamp flickers on the altar, casting a weak, trembling light that makes the shadows dance. You're not supposed to be here alone. Vestal duties are rarely solitary. But Emilia sent you, her voice curt, her eyes unreadable. You wonder if it's a test, a chance to prove your worth, or a way to keep you out of the way. The honey clings to your fingers, sweet and stubborn, and you wipe them on your robe, leaving a dark smear. The stain feels like a mark, a sign of your clumsiness, and you glance at the lamp, half expecting it to gutter in judgment. It doesn't, but the thought lingers, heavy as the wine's sharp tang. A soft shuffle breaks the silence, and you tense, your hand tightening on the spoon. It's not a Vestal, but a man, his silhouette framed in the sanctum's narrow doorway. He's young, barely older than you, his tunic plain but clean, his face marked by a faint scar across one cheek. You recognize him vaguely, a temple scribe, one of the countless servants who move through Vesta's domain, unnoticed until they're needed. His name escapes you, but his presence here, in the sanctum, is wrong, a violation of rules you're still learning. You shouldn't be here, you say, your voice sharper than you intend, and he flinches, his hands rising as if to ward off a blow. I was sent, he stammers, his eyes darting to the bowl in your hands. By the Pontifex, to check the libation. You frown, doubt curling in your gut. Lucius, the Pontifex, is meticulous, but sending a scribe into the sanctum feels reckless, even for him. You study the scribe, noting the sweat on his brow, the way his fingers twitch at his sides. He's nervous, but there's something else, a flicker of defiance in his eyes that makes your skin prickle. You think of the charred linen you found in the fire, the wolf's head carved into a log, the chant in the grove, signs and secrets that seem to multiply with each passing day. Who are you, you ask, setting the spoon down, your voice steady despite the unease gnawing at you. He hesitates, then answers, Gaius. I serve the temple records. His name means nothing, but his presence feels like a thread in a tapestry you can't yet see, and you're not sure if you want to pull it. Gaius steps closer, his eyes on the bowl, and you move instinctively, placing yourself between him and the altar. Show me the order, you say, your tone firm, channeling Emilius' authority. He fumbles in his tunic, producing a small wax tablet, its surface scratched with hasty marks. You take it, your fingers brushing his, and feel a jolt, not of fear, but of something deeper, a recognition you can't place. The tablet's text is brief, a command from Lucius to inspect the libation, but the script is sloppy, unlike the Pontifex's usual precision. You hand it back, your mind racing. Is Gaius lying, or is he a pawn in someone else's game? You think of Tullia's ambition, Cornelia's secrets, and wonder if this is another test, not from Emilia, but from someone with darker motives. The lamp flickers, casting Gaius's scar into sharp relief, and you notice a small pendant around his neck, a bronze disc etched with a crescent moon. It's a common symbol, tied to Diana, goddess of the hunt, but in Vesta's temple, it feels out of place, a whisper of another faith. You've heard of the Torabolium, a bloody ritual practiced in secret by devotees of other gods, where a bull's blood is spilled to cleanse or curse. The thought makes your stomach twist. Is Gaius here to taint the libation, to sabotage the ritual and blame the Vestals? You want to accuse him, to demand answers, but the memory of the wolf's head stops you. Accusations without proof are dangerous, and you're already walking a knife's edge. Check it then, you say, stepping aside but keeping your eyes on him. Gaius approaches the bowl, his movements careful, and dips a finger into the liquid, tasting it. The act is intimate, almost profane, and you feel a flush of anger, but you hold your tongue. He nods, as if satisfied, and steps back, his eyes meeting yours. It's good, he says, but there's a weight to his words, a challenge you don't understand. You nod, dismissing him, and he leaves as quietly as he came, his footsteps fading into the temple's You're alone again, the libation untouched but somehow heavier, as if Gaius's presence left a mark you can't see. You return to stirring, the honey and wine blending into a deep amber, but your mind is elsewhere, tangled in questions. The crescent moon, the sloppy tablet, Gaius's scar, they're pieces of a puzzle, but you don't know the shape. You think of the Torabolium again, its blood-soaked altars a far cry from Vesta's clean flames, and wonder if the temple's sanctity is under threat, not from the city's fires, but from within. You've heard of Vestals punished for lesser crimes, Opimia, buried alive for love, Tarpeia, crushed for greed, and you wonder if you're next, caught in a web of someone else's making. The lamp's light wavers, and you steady it with a trembling hand, the oil's sharp scent grounding you. The ritual is hours away, but the temple is already stirring, the Vestals preparing for their roles. You hear Livia's soft chant from the main chamber, Tullia's clipped orders, Emilia's steady footsteps. You want to tell them about Gaius, to warn them of the crescent moon, but the words stick, caught in the same fear that kept you silent about the wolf's head. You think of Marcia, the freedwoman, her gnarled hands sweeping ash, and wonder if she'd know what to do, if her secrets include navigating threats like this. But Marcia is a servant, not a confidant, and you're alone with your suspicions, the libation your only witness. You finish the mixture, setting the bowl on the altar, and clean your hands, the honey stubborn as guilt. The sanctum feels smaller now, the reliefs of wolves and flames closing in, their eyes seeming to follow you. You think of the palladium hidden somewhere in this temple. Its wouldn't form a secret you're not trusted to know. You wonder if Gaius knows of it, if his errand was a pretext to search for it, to steal Rome's heart. The thought is absurd, but it lingers, fueled by the temple's endless secrets. You want to believe you're strong enough to face this, to guard the fire and the city, but each new shadow, Gaius, the moon, the Torabolium, chips away at your resolve. The day moves forward, the temple a whirl of preparation. You carry the libation to the main hearth, your hand steady despite the weight in your chest. The fire burns bright, indifferent to your fears, and you feel its challenge, daring you to keep going. You see Gaius again briefly, carrying scrolls to the priests, his pendant hidden now, and you wonder if you imagine the threat, if your exhaustion is twisting shadows into enemies. But the wax tablet's sloppy script, the crescent moon, they're real, and they're yours to carry, a burden you can't share. You kneel by the altar, the libation ready, and pray, not to Vesta, but to the flicker of courage you're clinging to, that you can survive another hour, another secret, another step in this dance of fire and doubt. The temple's walls seem to pulse with the fire's rhythm, a low, insistent beat that mirrors the ache in your chest. You're standing in the main chamber, a clay tablet in your hands, its surface scratched with a list of offerings for the upcoming festival of Vestalia. Your task is to etch the final details, measures of grain, jars of oil, names of priests who'll oversee the rites. But your fingers tremble, the stylus slipping in your sweat-slicked grip. The air is heavy with the scent of burnt myrtle and the faint, metallic tang of polished bronze, a reminder of yesterday's libation ritual that left you shaken. Gaius's crescent moon pendant still burning in your mind. The fire crackles in the hearth, its light casting long, wavering shadows, and you feel its weight, not just as heat, but as a question, demanding whether you're strong enough to carry the secrets piling up around you. You think of the life you left behind, where stress meant a missed bus or a low battery, not the dread of a city's fate resting on your shoulders. Here, every choice is a thread in a noose, tightening with each breath. You're not alone, though the chamber feels hollow, the other Vestal's presence more like echoes than companions. Emilia is by the hearth, her hand steady as she arranges fresh logs, her face a mask of focus that you envy. Tullia is absent, likely preparing for the festival elsewhere, her ambition a ghost that haunts the temple's corners. Livia sits cross-legged near the altar, her clay figurine in her lap, her fingers tracing its worn edges, as if it holds answers she can't voice. Cornelia has returned, her absence yesterday unexplained, and she's sorting herbs with a quiet intensity, her eyes avoiding yours. Flavia remains unseen, her silence a puzzle you're too tired to solve. The chamber hums with small sounds, Livia's soft humming, the scrape of Cornelia's knife, the fire's endless murmur, but beneath it there's a tension, a held breath, as if the temple itself is waiting for something to break. A new figure enters, not a vestal or a servant but a woman, her presence sharp and unexpected. She's dressed in a stola of deep blue, her hair pinned with silver, her face angular and unyielding. You recognize her vaguely, Claudia, a matron of a powerful patrician family, known for her piety and her influence in Rome's sacred circles. She's no stranger to the temple, often delivering offerings on behalf of her household, but her arrival now, unannounced, feels like a stone dropped into still water. Claudia carries a small cedar box, its lid carved with a flame and a laurel, and she sets it on the altar with a reverence that makes your skin prickle. You pause, the stylus hovering over the tablet, and watch her, noting the way her fingers linger on the box, as if reluctant to let it go. You wonder what it holds, gold, incense, a relic, and why she's here, when the festival is still days away. Claudia's eyes meet yours, and you feel a jolt, not of fear, but of scrutiny, as if she's peeling back your skin to see the doubts beneath. "You're the new one," she says, her voice low but clear, like a bell tolling in fog. "The fire's chosen you, but have you chosen it?" The question catches you off guard, and you stammer, the stylus slipping from your fingers, clattering on the tablet. You want to answer, to prove your devotion, but the words stick, tangled in the memory of Gaius's pendant, the grove's chant, the wolf's head in the flames. Claudia's lips curve, not a smile but a challenge, and she turns to Emilia, exchanging quiet words you can't hear. You retrieve the stylus, your face burning, and return to the tablet, etching the list with more force than necessary. Each scratch a defiance you don't feel. The cedar box draws your eye, its carvings glowing in the firelight, and you think of the Penates, the household gods that protect Rome's families. Every home has its shrine, small figurines, or tokens kept in boxes like Claudia's, revered as links to the divine. In the temple, the Penates are Vestas alone, their forms hidden, their power tied to the fire and the palladium. You've never seen them, but you feel their presence, a weight that binds the temple to the city, the Vestals to the gods. You wonder if Claudia's box holds a Penates token, an offering for the festival, or something else, something tied to the secrets you've stumbled into. The thought makes your hand falter, the stylus carving a jagged line, and you curse under your breath, hoping no one notices. But Claudia does, her eyes flicking to the tablet, and you feel exposed, as if your mistake is a confession. Emilia approaches, her robe brushing the floor, and takes the box from the altar, her movements deliberate. "For the Vestalia," she says, her voice flat, but there's a tension in her shoulders, a crack in her usual calm. You want to ask what's inside, why Claudia's here, but Emilia's gaze silences you, a warning to stay in your place. She carries the box to a side chamber, disappearing behind a heavy curtain, and Claudia follows, leaving you with a tablet and a growing sense of unease. You think of the Torobolium, the bloody ritual you feared Gaius might be tied to, and wonder if Claudia's offering is as innocent as it seems. The Penates are sacred, but sacred things can be twisted, used to curse as easily as to bless, and you're starting to see shadows in every act of piety. You finish the tablet, the list complete but uneven, and set it aside, your hands aching from gripping the stylus. Livia is still by the altar, her humming softer now, almost a whisper, and you notice her figurine is different, not the Lars she usually carries, but a new one, smaller, carved with a flame instead of a face. You want to ask about it, to know why she's changed her talisman, but her eyes are distant, fixed on the hearth, and you feel the gap between you, a chasm of unspoken truths. Cornelia glances at you, her knife pausing, and for a moment you think she'll speak, but she returns to her herbs, her silence louder than words. The temple feels like a web, each vestal a thread, and you're caught in the center, unsure who's spinning the trap. The fire flares, a log collapsing into embers, and you move instinctively, grabbing a fresh one from the pile. As you place it in the hearth, you notice a faint mark on the wood, not a wolf this time, but a crescent, like Gaius's pendant, etched so lightly it could be a trick of the light. Your heart lurches, and you hesitate, the log heavy in your hands. Is it a coincidence, or another sign, a message you're meant to see? You think of Claudia's box, Livia's new figurine, the Penates' hidden power, and feel the weight of choices you're not ready to make. You toss the log into the flames, watching the crescent vanish. But the image lingers, a brand in your mind. You want to tell Emilia, to show her the mark, but the memory of her warning stops you. Trust is a luxury you can't afford, not when every symbol feels like a threat. The day presses on, the temple a flurry of preparation for the Vestalia. You move through your tasks, cleaning the altar, fetching water, chanting prayers. But the crescent haunts you, a shadow that follows you through the firelight. You think of Claudia's question, her piercing gaze, and wonder if you've chosen the fire, or if it's chosen you only to consume you. You see Gaius briefly, carrying tablets to the priests, his pendant hidden, and you wonder if he's part of this, if the crescent is his mark or someone else's. You want to confront him, to demand answers, but the temple's rhythm pulls you back, the fire's heat a reminder of your place. You kneel by the hearth, adding another log, and feel the flame's hunger, not just for wood, but for truth, for sacrifice. The cedar box, the Penates, the crescent, they're pieces of a puzzle you can't solve, and you're not sure you want to. You think of Livia's calm, Emilia's strength, Claudia's challenge, and feel your own fragility, a crack widening with each hour. You pray, not to Vesta, but to the part of you that's still fighting, that you can carry these secrets, these signs, and survive another hour in this world of fire and shadows. The temple is a cauldron of silence, the kind that presses against your eardrums, heavy with anticipation. You're standing in the heart of the main chamber, the fire's glow bathing you in a heat that feels like judgment. Your hands clutch a silver urn, its surface etched with spiraling flames, filled with the ashes of the Vestalia offerings, grain, oil, and the willow branches you gathered days ago. Tonight is the final rite of the festival, a ceremony to seal Vesta's favor for another year, and you've been chosen to carry the urn to the Tiber, to scatter its contents into the river's current as a gift to the gods. The honor is staggering, a mark of trust you never expected, but it feels like a chain, binding you to a moment you're not ready to face. The fire crackles, its voice sharper than ever, and you feel it watching, not as a flame, but as a witness to every secret you've carried. Gaius's crescent moon, the wolf's head, Claudia's box, Livia's figurine. You understand now why surviving here is impossible. The fire doesn't just burn wood, it burns you piece by piece until there's nothing left but duty. You're not alone, though the chamber feels like a void. Emilia stands by the hearth, her face carved from stone, her eyes fixed on you with an intensity that makes your skin crawl. Tullia is here, her usual sharpness dulled, her hands clasped as if in prayer, but her gaze darts to the urn, a flicker of something, envy, fear, in her eyes. Livia kneels near the altar, her new figurine clutched to her chest, its flame-carved face a mirror of the heart's glow. Cornelia is absent, her fate a whispered rumor of exile or worse, and Flavia remains a shadow, her silence a wound no one acknowledges. Marcia, the freed woman, lingers in the background, her gnarled hands folded, her eyes knowing in a way that makes you shiver. The air is thick with the scent of ash and river water, carried in by the breeze that slips through the temple's open door, and you feel the city beyond, Rome's heartbeat pulsing in time with your own. The urn is heavy, its metal cold against your palms, and you feel the weight of every choice that led you here. You've carried secrets, Gaius's pendant, the grove's chant, the Penates mystery, but none heavier than the truth you've buried. You're not enough. Not for the fire, not for Vesta, not for the city that worships you as a goddess, but would bury you for a single mistake. The mouth-wan chin has always been this, to stay and lose yourself to the fire, or to flee and lose everything else. Tonight, that conflict reaches its peak, a choice you can't avoid, etched in the ashes you hold and the river waiting to claim them. A new figure enters, breaking the chamber's stillness. It's Lucius, the pontifex, his toga stark against the firelight, his face a mask of authority. He carries a staff topped with a bronze flame, a symbol of his power, and his presence shifts the air, making it harder to breathe. You've feared Lucius since the grove, his sharp eyes a constant threat, but tonight he's not here to judge the fire. He's here for you. The river awaits, he says, his voice low but resonant, like a drum in a storm. The ashes must be scattered before dawn, or Vesta's favor will turn. You nod, your throat tight, and step forward, the urn's weight pulling at your arms. The other Vestals watch, their silence a chorus of expectation, and you feel their eyes, not as sisters, but as judges, waiting for you to falter. You move toward the door, Lucius at your side, his staff tapping the stone floor with each step. The city unfolds before you, The forum's torches flickering like stars, the air sharp with the smell of mud and fish from the Tiber. You've rarely left the temple, and the world outside feels alien, too vast, too alive. The streets are quiet, the festival's crowds gone, but you hear whispers, prayers, curses, the hum of a city that depends on you but doesn't know your name. You think of the life you left, where freedom meant a late-night walk or a fleeting choice. But here, every step is a chain, and the river is no escape, only a destination. The Tiber is close, its banks slick with moss, its current a dark, restless mirror of the night sky. Lucius stops at the edge, his staff planted in the mud, and gestures for you to proceed. You kneel, the urn cold against your chest, and feel the river's pull, not just its water, but its power. A force older than Vesta, older than Rome. You've heard of the Cloaca Maxima, the great sewer that carries the city's waste to the Tiber, a hidden vein that binds Rome's glory to its filth. The ashes you hold are part of that cycle, a cleansing of the temple, a renewal of the cities packed with the gods. But as you open the urn, the wind carrying the first grains of ash, you see something in the river's reflection, not your face, but a flame, sharp and unyielding, burning in the water's depths. You freeze, the urn tilting, ash spilling onto your hands. The flame in the river isn't a reflection of a torch or the temple's fire. It's alive, a vision that pulses with intent. You think of Livia's words, the fire's anger, and realize this is no trick of the light. It's Vesta, or something older, demanding a choice. You could scatter the ashes, complete the ritual, and return to the temple, surrendering to the fire's endless hunger. Or you could drop the urn, let the river claim it, and run, breaking your vow and damning yourself to a traitor's fate. The choice is stark, a moral razor, loyalty to Rome, or loyalty to the sliver of self you've clung to through every hour of doubt. Lucius shifts, his staff scraping the mud, and you feel his eyes, not on the river, but on you. The dawn is near, he says, his voice edged with impatience, and you wonder if he sees the flame, if he knows what's at stake. You think of Gaius, his crescent moon a shadow of betrayal, of Claudia's box, its secrets locked away, of the Penates, the Ancili, the wolf's head, all the signs you've carried, all pointing to this moment. You've survived by silence, by hiding your fears, but silence won't save you now. The river's flame burns brighter, its heat a mirror of the temple's fire, and you realize the truth. You can't outlast Vesta. The fire will take everything. Your will, your name, your life, whether you stay or go. You make your choice. You tip the urn, letting the ashes pour into the Tiber, their gray clouds swallowed by the current. The flame in the water flares, then fades, and you feel a release, not of freedom, but of surrender. You've chosen the temple, the fire, the city, but not because you're strong. You've chosen it because running would only prolong the inevitable. The river carries the ashes away, and you stand, the empty urn cold in your hands, your robe dusted with gray. Lucius nods, his face unreadable, and turns back to the city, his staff tapping a steady rhythm. You follow, the temple looming ahead, its fire waiting to claim you again. You understand now why you wouldn't last an hour as a firekeeper, not because of the heat or the rituals, but because the fire demands everything, your past, your future, your soul, and gives nothing back. You've survived this night, this choice, but survival here is a lie, a slow erosion until you're as hollow as the urn. The other Vestals will greet you, their eyes searching for weakness, and you'll carry on, feeding the fire, praying it doesn't turn on you. But you know it will, one day, when a log falters or a secret slips, and Rome will bury you without a tear. You re-enter the temple. The fire's heat a slap against your face, and set the urn by the altar, your hands trembling. Emilia watches, her silence a verdict, and Livia's figurine seems to glow, a silent witness to your choice. You kneel, the stone biting your knees, and add a log to the hearth, the flames flaring in approval. The festival is over, but your vigil never ends, and you feel the weight of every hour you've endured, every hour still to come. You've chosen the fire, but it's chosen you too, and there's no escape from its hunger. Sleep well tonight, if you can. If the river's whisper follows you to your dreams, or if you see a flame flicker in the dark, don't be surprised. Vesta's watching, and she never sleeps.